Hi, everyone. This is Hannah Henson with the Bancorp Center, here to talk to you about carbs. So this is episode 1 of our nutrition series, and we're going to kick it off with carbohydrates. All right, so we're going to start off with a question. Which of the following are primarily carbs? Apple, broccoli, quinoa, or skim milk? It has already exposed the answer. However, I would like to explain why each of these are considered carbs. So first, we're going to start off with the apple. All fruits contain carbs, natural sugars, and fiber. With the broccoli, vegetables also contain carbs, although they are very low in calories. Quinoa is a whole grain that has more protein than most grains, but also contains carbohydrates. And then the skim milk contains carbohydrates in the form of a natural sugar called lactose. Macronutrients. So there are 3 sources of fuel: carbohydrates, fat, and protein. So for today, we're just going to be covering the carbohydrate section of macronutrients, although they are all very good for your health. So why do we need carbs? Carbs have many important functions in the body. They are broken down and converted into glucose, also known as blood sugar. Your brain needs carbohydrates to function. Your muscles, along with other cells and tissues throughout the body, need it for fuel. Extra carbs is stored in the liver in the form of glycogen. Glycogen provides fuel when it is needed, such as long durations of fasting, between meals, or overnight. All right, so we're going to dive into some myths and facts about carbohydrates. The first one, carbohydrates cause weight gain. Fact, too many calories from any source may lead to weight gain. Not all carbohydrate-rich foods are equally nutritious. We'll touch on the options to choose more often later in our session. For some individuals, certain carbohydrate foods may be foods they tend to eat in larger quantities, thereby adding more calories. However, I'd like to point out that each food group, again, too many calories of any source will cause weight gain. It's not just carbs. Our next myth versus fact is a low-carb diet is best for weight loss. That's our myth. And the fact, the key to weight loss is creating healthy, sustainable nutrition and physical activity habits. What happens if you eat too few of carbohydrates? So it may be challenging to sustain the long-term, especially if you are eliminating foods you really enjoy. Like for me, it's chocolate, or my mom just made cake last night. Love cake. Secondly, could eliminate important nutrient-rich foods that are linked to health benefits and disease prevention, such as whole grains, legumes, fruit, and vegetables. Also, those wonderful Honey Nut Cheerios that they have commercials about all the time. Next, some low-carb diets replace nutritious foods with foods that are high in unhealthy saturated fat and sodium, like butter, bacon, and fatty meats. So again, if they're taking something out, they got to put something else in. Again, with these low-carb diets or low-fat items, they're going to add something else in. That's a great thing to remember when we're looking at those kind of foods. And then lastly, very low carbohydrate diets may have side effects such as bad breath, constipation, and fatigue. So again, it's important to know that we do need these carbs. And in this one, there's 3 forms of carbs that I will be identifying for you guys. So the first one is dietary fiber, which is a certain type of carbohydrate found in plant foods. So fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and beans. Most of it goes through the body undigested and is linked to a variety of health benefits. However, most Americans only eat about half of the fiber needed each day. Next, we have starches. So starches are found in foods such as beans, grains, and starchy vegetables. So examples of those include potatoes, peas, corn, and lima beans. Next, we have sugars. Sugars are the most basic form of carbs, and there are two types. Naturally occurring sugars are those naturally found in milk, which is in the form of lactose, and then fruits, which that form is fructose. Added sugars are those added to foods for sweetness. For example, table sugar, honey, high fructose corn syrup, and many others. Added sugars do not add nutritional value to foods and drinks. However, they might be added for taste. So again, choose carbs rich in dietary fiber and nutrients because, again, we only get half of what we probably should be getting per the typical American diet. How many carbs do you need? So daily carbohydrates needs vary by person based on caloric needs. The main recommendations from the dietary guidelines for Americans include make at least half of your grains whole grains, limit foods and drinks high in added sugars, consider your plate and fill it with the most nutritious options. So again, we have a depiction of fruits, grains, vegetables, and protein on the screen there at choosemyplate.gov. It's a great resource to just break down what you need in a day as far as calories and requirements for daily function. I also like to put in there about whole grains. Make sure that they're 100% whole grain and they say that on the label. Many companies put just wheat bread or multi-grain. However, that doesn't mean that there's 100% whole grain in it. So that's a great tip to move forward as you shop for whole grain items. All right, so now we are going to break down these last couple slides into choose more often and choose less often. So the first one is choose more often. So again, these are their fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all the good stuff. So some tips with your fruits include fresh, canned without added sugar, unsweetened frozen fruits, and unsweetened dry fruits. So typically you go down the list of fresh, canned or frozen, and then dried as your sources of fruit. So always go for the freshest first and then move down the line from there. Same with vegetables. So include fresh, canned with no salt, and frozen without added salt or sauces. So sometimes there's those healthy or quote unquote healthy sauces that they will include in frozen dinners and things like that. However, beware of the sodium content in those because they can just put a sauce on there that seems appetizing but be loaded with sodium. Next, we have the whole grains and whole grain products. So whole wheat, brown rice, barley, popcorn, and quinoa. So I feel like a lot of people don't consider popcorn as a whole grain, but it is. I love popcorn. It's so nice to pop it yourself and then flavor it yourself as well. Next, we have low-fat milk and yogurt with no added sugars. Next, we have legumes such as kidney beans, black beans, pinto beans, lentils, and many others. You can also pair this with a wonderful taco night. I love tacos with black beans, pinto beans, or even putting them in your bowl at Chipotle when you go to pick it up or takeout. It's a great option to add a little bit more dietary fiber in there as well. All right, next we have choose less often. While most any food can fit into moderation, aim to limit foods with few nutrients and replace them with options rich in nutrients and fiber. I also like to put in there 80-20. So the 80-20 rule, 80% great whole nutritious foods, and then 20% of your daily calories for a treat. So again, 20% is a lot smaller than 80%. So if it's just a piece of chocolate already portioned out, that's a great tool to see that 20% in more of a visual. And we can always provide you with more information on the 80-20 rule. But yeah, to break these down, sugary drinks, just limit the sodas, sports drinks, fruit punch, lemonade, sugar sweetened tea. A lot of people think that Gatorade's great, and it is for a lot of athletes and electrolyte replenishment and sodium intake for athletes. However, it can be very high in sugar, so just be aware of that. And then we have sweets, candy, and desserts. Typically store-bought items, you don't know what is in them or the ingredients in them, so it's also good to just make it yourself if you choose to have a dessert. That way you know what's coming in and out of the recipe and you know what's going in your body. And then lastly, refined grains such as white bread, white rice, and pastas. I made the example of Chipotle again with this. So instead of choosing white rice in your bowls, maybe consider brown rice. Try it once and you might like it. I like brown rice. I think it's got a great flavor to it as well. But a little added here, while many of these options are enriched with important nutrients, whole grain choices offer additional dietary fiber and phytochemicals. So yeah, that's a great benefit to that as well, just as you transition into, just implementing more fruits and vegetables. And again, if you have the time during this working from home season, I think that's a great benefit as well. Yeah. And what will you do next? So here are some ideas for some next small steps. Replace sugary snacks with a fruit or veggie. Replace a refined grain with a whole grain. So whether that's buying a loaf of whole grain bread versus your typical refined white bread. Replace a sugary drink with water. I'll also, if you're transitioning from soda, I think it's a great transition piece. I do it myself. I love sparkling water. So typically they have natural flavors like black cherry, citrus, lemon, lime. I think that's a great option to get in more water as well if you don't like regular water. Other tips include, adding some lime or lemon juice. Squeeze a little bit into your water. That'll add some good vitamin C in there as well if you're looking to flavor up your water. For more information, you can visit Choose My Plate for tip sheets, healthy recipes, and sample menus. I highly recommend going and trying this out, whether it's just a one-time thing and a reference for you guys. I truly think it's a great option to understand your nutrients and what you need to get in every day. All right, that is all I have for you guys. Have a great day.